Okay, here we go. This is the new material that you will need to know for the 6 weeks test. So this is our second unit. And this is for equalities and inequalities. Equations and inequalities, sorry. So anytime that you see, and remember this is an equal sign right here. Anytime you see an equal sign, that is an equation. What that tells you is that whatever is on the left side of the equation is going to equal the right side of the equation. So now we're manipulating both sides of the equation. No longer will we just look at one side. And then your inequalities are down here. Anytime you see these symbols right here, you know you have an inequality. This is less than, and it has to be exactly in that orientation. So you got to look at it from left to right. So if you see the pointy end first and then the open side on the right, that tells you that you read it as less than. So reading from left to right, this means greater than. This one is less than or equal to. This one is greater than or equal to. And here's an example, just an example of, working with both sides of the equation and working with variables. So obviously, we know 1 plus 1 equals 2. This is a equation. Well, our variable x right here, remember we've been working with variables. A variable is a number, we just don't know what it is yet. X is almost a placeholder. We have to find out what x equals. Well, we know what 1 plus 1 equals. So x has to be 1 plus 1 or 2. We can do the same thing with the left side of the equation. So they gave us the right side. Using the right side, we can solve the left side. So basically what this equation is saying is 1 plus some number equals 2. Well, we know what that some number is because we know that 1 plus 1 equals 2. So this x right here is 1. And whenever you're showing your answers, when you solve for a variable, you always have to write whatever the variable is and then what it equals. You cannot just write 1 as your answer. You have to write x equals 1, always. So we got that covered. On to the next slide. Oops, too far. Okay, so on all of these problems, you can solve for x. And I will show you how to do that. It's not supposed to be showing all of this, but I guess I can go ahead and work out one problem at a time. So let's look at this top one up here. 2/5 plus x equals 11. This is just like the problem we just saw where it was 1 plus x equals 2. We can still solve for x even though it's a little bit more difficult numbers. So there's a process to this, and it will be the same no matter what. So even if you had a problem like this one right here, it's the exact same process. And I will skip to another slide so you can read it, and then I'll come back and work some of these problems using that process. So remember, these are all equations because they have an equal sign, or equalities, or equations, sorry. And then these are all of your inequalities because they have the inequality symbols. So let's get a little practice reading these inequalities from left to right. This one right here if I were to read it out loud, would be 5x is greater than 10. This one is 3x, or 3 plus x is less than 25. 15x is greater than or equal to 30. And then 20x is less than or equal to 40. That's how you would read those from left to right. So let's review some definitions. Equation, a number sentence that uses an equal sign. Inequality, a number sentence that uses these symbols right here. And those symbols are greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. Variable, a letter that represents the solution / answer. Solution, the answer. So one-step problems, they only take one step to find the answer. Two-step problems, you guessed it, take 2 steps to find the answer. And then using those definitions, you should be able to fill out these letters or these arrows right here. So I'll go ahead and pause for a second. I would recommend that you pause it and use the information you just learned to fill out the blanks and on the other side of the arrows. So here are the answers right here. So the purple one is a variable. It's supposed to be pointing at x on the left one. And a variable is also the solution. And then this is an equation because it's pointing at an equal sign, or it has an equal sign. And then the right one is an inequality because it has an inequality symbol. Okay, so here's the solving process. This is the most important thing you'll learn from this video. So if you have to, I would write it down and memorize it, because this will not be given to you on your test. It's something you'll have to have memorized. So the ultimate goal, anytime you have to solve for a variable, you have to get the variable letter by itself. That is the most important thing. So anytime you're looking at something like, you got to solve for x or y or whatever the letter is, that is your goal. That is going to be the end result. That's how you solve the answer. So here's the first step in reaching that goal. You have to move the number that is on the same side as the variable to the other side. So when it says move the number, that could be, plus or minus a number, or it could also be, a number in front of the letter, such as so if you're going to multiply the variable by 3, you might have like a 3x, or a 4b, or whatever the letter is. So whenever there's a number in front of it, you multiply by it. And we have to move that number, whatever it is, to the other side. And you do that by doing the opposite operation. So let's say you had x plus 5 equals 2. Well, the opposite operation of plus 5 would be minus 5. And whatever you do to the side where the number is on, you have to do to the other. So you have to do it to both sides. You have to have balance. You have to have a balanced equation. So if you're having trouble picturing what that looks like, the way I think about it is, let's say you have a scale, kind of like the scales of justice or whatever, where you have 2 little containers that can hold, whatever you're measuring. Let's say it was some quarters or something of that nature. Well, if you add weight to one side, or if you take away from one side and put it on the other, well, those scales are going to be tipped out of balance. One side's going to be higher or lower than the other. But if you take away from one side and add it to the other, and you replace the side that you took away from, well, those balances are going to be stay even. They're going to stay in balance. So always do your operation on both sides, whatever that opposite operation is. And then step 2 in a two-step equation, get rid of the number directly attached to the variable. So directly attached to the variable, that would be like 4x, 4 times x. And there is a two-step equation example in the examples from earlier. So make sure that you write this down or screenshot this and save it, and you can use this for the rest of the problems that were on your homework or whatever we're doing in class. And then complete process as above. So, okay, so right here, they go ahead and show you 2 different ways to do it. And there really is no difference. The only difference is that they're showing the work on the side. So right here we have 25 plus x equals 32. Well, according to that last slide, we have to get x by itself to solve for it. So we have to get the number that's on the same side as our variable. We do that by doing the opposite operation. So notice how we have a positive 25 right here. Well, we just subtract 25 from both sides. We have balance now. If we were to only do it from the left side, we would not have the same equation. We have to do it to both sides. And then on this one, they just did it on, like, they all kept it in a straight line. On this one, they wrote it underneath. There is no difference. You will get the same answer. Some people just learn different visually, so use whichever one makes most sense to you. So 25 minus 25 is just 0. We don't need to write, x plus 0. We can just leave it blank. So we essentially got rid of our 25. Now x is by itself on the left side. But don't forget about your minus 25 on the right side. 32 minus 25 is 7. So now that we have x by itself, whatever's on the other side of the equation is our answer. So this would be your answer if this was on a test or something like that. You would circle x equals 7. And they got the same answer over here. Just working it in a different way visually. Here is a two-step equation. And the best way to think about this, and I told this to my kids on Friday, I asked them, what was the first thing that you took off when you get home to your house? Your shoes or your socks? Obviously it's your shoes. It's not physically possible to take off your socks before your shoes. I don't know who would want to do that anyways, even if they did figure it out. So shoes, that's what you take off first. Well, shoes is these operations right here. Addition and subtraction. Shoes is our addition and subtraction. So if we're going to get x, and this problem right here, it's 25x plus 10 equals 60. If I'm going to take my shoes off first, I have to get rid of addition first. So I would not get rid of 25 first, because that's multiplication. I would get rid of the plus 10 right here. And you would just do it like you did on the other problem, which they show right here. They subtract 10 from both sides. Okay, that's step 1. So 10 minus 10 right here is just 0, so we got rid of it. We canceled it out. And then 60 minus 10 is just 50. So we've simplified our equation a little bit. It looks a little bit more workable now. Always write all your steps, okay? Always write all your steps. So we rewrite our equation to be 25x equals 50. And that just means 25 times some number equals 50. Now, I mean, you're probably smart enough to know that 25 times 2 equals 50, but all your problems won't be that simple, so it's always good to go ahead and get x by itself. So now we're down to our socks. Socks is left. And socks is, you guessed it, multiplication and division. Okay? So always do your addition and subtraction first, and then your socks, which is multiplication and division. And those are just opposite operations of each other. Division is the opposite operation of multiplication. Multiplication is the opposite operation of division. So that's what they did here. They did 25x divided by 25. So it's hard to see it in this PowerPoint, but what you see right here is a fraction bar. Well, fractions are just the same thing as division. It's a numerator divided by the denominator. And it's like that on both sides. So they did 25x divided by 25 is just x, because these 25s cancel, and you're left with x. And then they did 50 divided by 25, and they got 2. Well, now that x is by itself, you could just write your answer as x equals 2. And that would be your final answer. So all this boils down to just following the steps on that slide where it tells you your goal and how to get to that goal. That's probably the most important slide from this PowerPoint. Let's go to another one. Now here's an inequality. Now it's the exact same rules on inequalities. Your answers will not be any different. The only thing that changed was this symbol right here. This could easily be x is equal to 7. The rules were the same, and then you would just say your answer differently. You would say x is greater than 7. Really not much different. So they had plus 25. They did the opposite operation. And also, I forgot to mention this, your number always stays the same, okay? You're always going to use the number that they give you. The only thing you're worried about is the opposite operation. So we had plus 25 on this problem, so they subtract 25 from both sides. So these cancel out. These cancel out, and then 32 minus 25 just equals 7. So you're left with x is greater than 7. Simple enough. Actually, I'd say it's even more simple than the stuff we've been learning the past 3 weeks. So once we tie all this stuff together, I expect we'll do pretty good on our 6 weeks test. And then same thing with two-step equations that have inequalities, or that is an inequality. So I'll go over this one for you. So actually, this is the same problem as last time. Exact same numbers, they get the exact same answer. Only thing that's different is the symbol. So instead of x being equal to 2, you would just say x is less than 2. And with inequalities, the only thing that's going to be different is you may be asked to show that answer on a number line. And I will show you how to do that in a later video. I would also, I mean, this is actually the way I prefer to do it. I like to draw my operations underneath like they do right here, because that's just how you solve anyways. So, I mean, if you had larger numbers, you wouldn't be able to do it on the side. Let's say you had 1,053 minus 763. Well, I couldn't think of the answer on the top of my head, so I'd have to draw it underneath like they do right here to actually be able to solve it. So I recommend this second way over here, but it just depends on how best you can learn. So it's up to you. And that's the end of that lesson right there. I will upload day 2 after we go through this presentation on Tuesday. All right, thanks for watching. Have a good rest of your Sunday. Bye.